Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Roll the Level. My name is Matt, and this is Sarah with me tonight. So we are excited today because we're going to talk about something that's probably near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yes.
Because we are both parents. We both have kids, and we both love video games. And so one of the things that I always come across, and I think probably you're starting to get there with Lukey too, is that, how do you decide which games they can play? How do you engage?
Like even nowadays, there's even more ways for them to play games. Like we didn't have tablets back then, and stuff like that, and like cell phones. So there's so many other ways they can get it now.
Mm-hmm.
Where we only had like our expensive Nintendos that our parents hopefully bought us, kind of thing.
So true. So before we dive into kind of what we do, what was it like for you growing up playing video games? Like, were there limitations? Were there rules? How did that work?
I don't know. Like I feel like I would go to my opa's and we would play Super Nintendo, and then we eventually got our own Super Nintendo, and we just kind of grew up Nintendo family until I was like in grade 6, until I figured out there was a bigger world of RPGs out there, and I was like, I'm a lost cause. But like I didn't play mature rated games. Like I didn't really, unless it was at a friend's house, we would play Halo or DOA. But other than that, like I never really had that. Nobody told me not to play something.
Absolutely. Understood. Well, it's funny you say, we didn't play mature games. I mean, when I started playing video games, the concept didn't even exist.
I guess so, yeah.
Like, there was, like, 0 rating system, 0 nothing. I mean, my first gaming console was the Sega Master System, which is, I mean, most people don't even know what that is. But it was an incredible system. I absolutely love that thing. It was so good. Had this, like, secret hidden maze game in it. But one of my favorite games on that system was a game called Gangster Town.
Okay.
Which basically, no, most people wouldn't, right? I mean, don't know what the Sega Master is. You're not gonna know what Gangster Town was. But it was like Duck Hunt on steroids.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, so it was like a side scroller, but with a zapper gun.
Okay.
And so, like, you shot all these gangsters that basically popped out and stuff like that.
Probably a little more engaging than my good old Duck Hunt.
It was pretty amazing, actually.
Okay.
Hands down, it defeats Duck Hunt. It was amazing. But anyway, it's funny because growing up, I didn't have, kind of the first generation of children gamers. With myself,
true.
and then you kind of coming behind me there by a couple of years. Yeah. But there were no regulations. I mean, I remember being like 7 years old and playing Doom for the first time and thinking it was amazing.
No, I lied.
You played Doom? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say. If you grew up anywhere near the age I am.
Oh,
then...
lots of Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six.
It's all coming back now, right?
Oh boy,
Absolutely.
I made a lie.
No, you're good. You're good.
Well, my father worked for Microsoft and he ran tournaments, so I kind of had to play in them.
That's fair.
So,
Absolutely. So like growing up when I was a kid, I mean, there were 0 filters. It was like whatever, man. You buy whatever the latest game was. I mean, we didn't even have a rating system for the longest time, so it was
That's true.
Whatever game I wanted. My parents didn't really ask. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever, go for it. It's a game. What could go wrong? And that's just, that's unfortunately just the nature of the times. Then there was no regulation, there was nothing in place. But but in all fairness too, games weren't where they are now, by a long stretch. And so we're now in this world where, you can play anything and get anything.
Yes, and you look hard enough, you will find it. Absolutely,
and it's kind of scary what's out there. And so, as parents now, trying to navigate this, it raises some big questions.
Yeah.
You have a little guy, and then I have my son who's 8 and my daughter who's 4. And your little guy's 4 as well. You're constantly, at least for myself, I am constantly having to see what they're doing and what they're playing.
I always test stuff out first.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things as a parent and a gamer. And in some ways, I feel like as gamers, we almost have an advantage that way. Because we already kind of have our finger, our thumb.
I think we're in that proper generation, like a different kind of parent generation where, like, my mom would be like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're in a generation where we're trying to beat our kids' high score.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, in some ways, it's kind of an advantage because we already have our pulse on, we know what the pulse of the gaming industry is. We know what's coming out. We know what's out there. And that helps. But you still have to ask that question, what is appropriate for my son or my daughter?
It's tough.
It is. What are some of the filters that you use?
I don't know. Like, I will always play something in advance. And we were watching a lot of the AGDQ, the Awesome Games Done Quick, and, like, there were some games that I'd be like, okay, this is not... Like, I have a language filter.
Yep. Yeah, that's... Well,
so that's a big one, but...
Yep.
Like, a language filter, no blood. But other than that, like... I can't save him from everything. I'm starting to realize that. Like, one day he will go to a friend's house and he will play GTA.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is...
Yeah.
I can't stop that.
Yep.
But in my own home, I can be like, okay, no blood, no swearing, and then probably good to watch. Because I've always had the opinion, like, even back when I was in high school and people couldn't buy their own Halo. It's like, is Halo mature rated really?
Yeah, that was always a debate for me too.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I think the parents that are buying it have to have this filter and being like, you're okay to have this M-rated game. But I think I can only stop so much. But yeah, those are my two main filters. I also like a game to be a little educational if I can.
Yeah, that's fair. You're allowed.
Lucas doesn't play too many games, but he loves his Mario Kart, and I'm like, okay, good motor skills, whatever. And last weekend, Tyler and Lucas were playing Pokemon together.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So like, I'm trying to teach Lucas he had to do all the reading. If he wanted to
gonna
play,
engage, he had to read,
he had to do the reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Tyler would like find the way to the place and whatever. But like, there has to be a little bit of learning in there. Even with the tablet games he plays, if it's mind numbing, I'll delete it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
So like, he has some just get like Tokaboka games. I think they are just brainwash. So I'm saying, he found his way into the app store. He knows my passcode.
Oh, good.
So he remembers everything.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I'm just gonna download this, or he'll go into like an app that he's not supposed to, and then he knows how to read, so he can figure out the child lock. He can figure out his way out of what he's supposed to be doing, and to download other stuff. So it's a lost cause.
But we don't give up.
But I don't know. I always have to delete stuff. But yeah, I try to always have a little bit of education in there, or skill building.
Yeah, absolutely.
In any way possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's my rant. Over.
Hey, no, you're good. You're good. It's okay to have soapbox. I know for myself and my wife and I mean, this is a constant discussion in our house. Tara and I are always discussing video games, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. I mean, it does help that I spend a lot of time reviewing and reading and things like that.
You have that chance to.
So it's nice. I can kind of get into a lot of those games. But I mean, even in those cases, like, one of the things you said that I really appreciate is you can't necessarily shelter them from everything.
Yep.
Again, in our home, we have very strict rules about what they can and cannot play and things like that. You know what I mean? Aiden would play anything if I gave it to him. He loves games, and I love that.
Yep.
We can hang out. But at the same time, obviously, there's balance in that. But I think one of the things that's been really important too is that, even though when I tell him he can't play a game, one of the things I'm really intentional about is sitting down with him and explaining why he can't play the game.
Yeah, I think that's, you have to explain it, or else it just like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, because the idea is I want to teach him how to engage with these things, because there will be a time when he's old enough to play these games, and if he doesn't know how to engage with this culture, if he doesn't know how to navigate this culture, and the same with my daughter Maddie too. Now, having that discussion with a 4-year-old versus an 8-year-old is a little different. But the idea is teaching them that they need to be aware of what is appropriate and inappropriate. Right. And I mean, I've been very fortunate. There's been a couple times where Aiden's gone to friends' houses and he's come back and said, Dad, we were playing this game. It was like 5 nights at Freddy's, I think. And I'm like, you were? And he's like, yeah. He said, and then there was some stuff on the screen. He's like, I know I'm not supposed to watch it, so I didn't.
Oh, you have a good kid.
And I'm going, man, like, I'm so grateful for that. And I know that that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah, I didn't tell my parents I was playing.
Right? Absolutely.
DOA at my friend's house.
But I think that just reinforces the idea that we need to teach our kids how to engage with these things. And teach our kids how to, again, I don't have to expose them to everything to teach them how to engage with everything. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning as a parent and as a gamer is that there is a need in this ever evolving culture of games and art and these lines are blurring and all these different things are happening now, and we're seeing all sorts of crazy things happening in the gaming industry. There is a need to teach our children how to not just consume.
Yeah, and which is dangerous now with all the loot boxes and stuff too.
Well, and that's it too. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you can't safeguard from that anymore too. It's in all the games. Like, they can get teen-rated games if they wanted to. They'd find a way, and it's just. Oh yeah, it's like buying Pokemon cards. It could never stop.
No, well, and that's the thing, right? And so teaching our kids to engage, and have those boundaries, absolutely, is so absolutely crucial. And especially as a even if you're a parent that isn't a gamer. Yeah. At least, and again, this is just my opinion. This is just our opinions, but I think it's still important to teach them how to engage with the culture. And that requires a lot of reading. That requires a lot of getting involved and beginning to understand a culture that you don't understand. I mean, I've learned so much, especially since having a daughter. I'll be honest, like having our son and just understanding that culture, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I was a boy, I love games, and so far his interests have been very similar to mine. But then I have this little girl coming out of left field, and it's just a totally different. And I mean, she loves games and things like that. But now I'm even viewing games in a totally different mindset,
That's kinda
right?
cool.
Well, you have to like. You know, you got to be. I don't know. Just everything about it is just changing, but it
Right.
requires us to always be on our game. You know,
Yeah.
pun totally intended. To constantly be learning and,
Yeah,
and
like,
I mean,
when I worked at Toys R Us,
Mhm.
there were so many parents that had no idea
Yeah,
what was going on.
right?
Like they would ask me questions and be like, "My son wants Halo for his Nintendo Wii. Is this what a 7-year-old should do?"
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, "No,
Absolutely not. Absolutely
probably not."
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like you could just tell there's so many clueless parents in there just
Mm.
with their Christmas, or their grandparents with their Christmas
Yep.
list, and just be like, "I want all these mature rated games." And it's like,
Yeah.
how old is the kid you're buying for? And
Yep.
like, you have to know what you're getting. Like,
Mhm.
you have to try to lead them in the right direction, and then.
Absolutely.
But it's that was a tough act.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it is one of those things as a parent. I mean, you know, we have to be willing to kind of get an understanding. And now, thankfully, we do live in a culture where there's so much resource now.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, you can read reviews on everything. We live. I mean, you don't even have to read. You just hit YouTube for 5 minutes.
Thank you, YouTube.
Right. But you know, as a parent, that is the one thing I think that I'm learning about teaching my kids how to engage in this culture, which I love.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
love
I'm fully in
the
there.
game.
I'm already,
Yeah, I love
I'm
the
lost.
gaming culture. But the reality is that like everything, there are great parts and there are dark parts, and we need to teach them how to engage well.
Yeah. Just keep the online chat off. And
That's right. Moral of the story: keep the online chat off. Anyway, that has been this edition of Real Talk with myself and with Sarah. And, you know, we want to hear from you guys too. I mean, we're just sharing our opinions, our thoughts, our experience.
Yes.
But we want to hear from you guys too. You know, I don't think it's necessarily a black and white thing. I think
No.
there's a lot of
We're still
things.
learning.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, even as a culture, we're still learning about how do we engage this thing with our children and you know, and things like that. So we want to hear from you. Leave comments below in the comment section. And until next time, thanks for joining us.